My name is Nyka, and I'm the lead artist of Nyka TV. Today I wanted to talk a little about my Game Boy game, GAMEDEV TV, which recently released for Gameboy Color, Analog Pocket, PC, and more. I'm working on porting it to other consoles all the time. I haven't been allowed out the basement in I don't know how long. And they said once I finished the game, I could get some fresh air. And it looks like it might be stormy air soon. So I made a game. It's kind of a post-mortem for that. Talk a little about it. So, TV Chan, Great Escape, GB. I made it. It's a game, like I mentioned. And it's made in GB Studio 3.2 specifically. I haven't upgraded to 4 or 4.1 yet. I forget what version we're on, because I didn't want to break compatibility with the assets and game project I already worked on, just in case anything broke between updating those game software from one version to another. So this game started actually as an NES title. It started as an NES top-down puzzle Sokoban style game. I made that with Retro Puzzle Maker for the NES, and I was surprised how many people enjoyed that. They really seemed to enjoy TV Chan's Great Escape for the NES, and I even had some of my patrons asking what if I did like a Game Boy port of a TV Chan's Great Escape. So I thought, give people what they want. If people want more TV Chan, I'm happy to work on more TV Chan. I originally made for GB competition, Game Boy Competition 2023, trying to get as much of the NES game ported over as I could. I really underestimated how much work it was going to take to recreate all the systems that Retro Puzzle Maker kind of gives you just out of the box. Just trying to recreate and block pushing and collectibles, just having to set that up from scratch. It wasn't very hard. It did take more time and effort than I expected. So it took me roughly a year of development on this game. Part of that was because I was also animating for another title called Dungeons of the Obelisk by my friend Joe Sleppy with Knobcat Games. Hi, if you're watching this. I am the lead animator on that. And the game launched earlier this year, so I was really crazy busy with just taking care of that project, taking care of work for it. On top of that, I've also been collaborating with a friend of mine, who goes by FangSoft. You can find her on itch.io at fangsoft.itch.io.com. She makes amazing games, and we started collaborating artistically earlier this year. That's immediately slowed down a little bit of the production TV Chan, but it's also kind of pointed me towards stuff I'm going to be doing after TV Chan. It's done now, and I may do a 1.2, maybe even a 1.3 release. I had to make everything from scratch. The original game was 20 levels, I believe. I think it's 23 now, but I just kind of kept adding to it. But it started as 20 levels. The Game Boy title, I got a little more ambitious, and that's another reason it took so long. It's got 30 levels, it's got some new gameplay mechanics, and it's got a final, I don't know, that's a spoiler, it's got a big badge you have to fight at some point. I'll just say that. So, there's more to it, there's more story scenes, there's new ending, there's new music. Pretty much a new game from the ground up, except for, like, I want to say the tile set and some of the sprite sheets were based on the NES version. But it's single player, it's my first Game Boy title, second homebrew title become the NES version. And one of my things I wanted to capture this, I wanted to capture this feeling of old Game Boy games, because that's just a very precious time for me. I owned a Game Boy Pocket. I love the Game Boy, I love the Game Boy line, and there's just something about those pixelated graphics and seeing what they could get away with on the hardware that made me really just want to explore making art in those limitations. I love the retro art style, and being forced to work within it was one of the best limitations I could have asked for. And if anything, I'm a little sad because I feel like other projects, if I want them to have a similar crunch to it, I'm going to have to go out of my way to intentionally make it that way, which I already do that a little bit. But I just really love the authenticity of the Game Boy platform. with projects like Analog, Pocket, and I believe there's an FPGA Game Boy now, and there's a few other kind of models. It just seems like Game Boy's never really completely gone away. It's definitely not mainstream. It's nothing you'll find in like Target, but or a Walmart or whatever. For any non-US people, those are department stores here in America that both suck. But anyway, you won't find Game Boy games usually in those places, but there's still this vibrant community on places like itch.io and on YouTube that just seems like, at least as far as the indie scene goes, Game Boy's alive and well. So I've definitely been wanting to be a part of that, throw my hat into the ring a bit, make my own game. I used a lot of pre-rendered 3D for this game, especially for the cutscenes, which was kind of weird. But I remember so many old Game Boy games, especially licensed movie titles, would just straight up use stills from the movie sometimes and just convert them into Game Boy format. So I thought it would be cool to take MetaHuman, make the mom and dad out of MetaHuman. I made a TV-chan, was actually modeled in V-Roid Studio. I originally created her when I was looking into VTubing. I was thinking I need a cool, unique VTuber avatar, and I'm too shy. I can't even do a vlog normal. And I am way over here. I've been trying to sneak her into projects since I made her, just because I was so proud of how that avatar came out. And she's with these games. I feel like I've gotten a chance to let her out. Some people were saying that the parents are a little one-dimensional, and that's a little on purpose. It's a little intentional because they're not the protagonists. We're not getting their whole story just yet either. But I hope that I was able to flesh it out more, especially with TV-chan and supporting characters. I don't want to spoil anything, but at least with the parents too, I tried to make them a little more, to make their bitterness and their frustration sound a little more believable, I guess is what I'm saying. It's a game about leaving home or running away from home or escaping. It's set in this glitchy digital environment. But I guess I have some magnetism towards themes about parents and familial trauma. I didn't want to get too serious with this, but surprising no one, trans femme over here, non-binary chick, doesn't get along very well with her parents. So maybe that came through a little there. Not to be just a total hater, there's nice parents and stuff out there, but I come to write about what it felt like to want something different in your family, or to even disagree with them, or find what they're up to repulsive or offensive, and want to say or do something about it. TV-chan's a lighthearted game, but I wanted it to feel like you were taking a stand for yourself, if that makes sense. You're taught not to stand up against your folk, you're taught not to question them. Sometimes those people just straight up have shit advice, and they aren't great people. Very much a puzzle game. It's very much a top-down adventure puzzle, Sokoban type game. I definitely took some inspiration from classic top-down Zelda as well. And for what it's worth, I have at least a sequel in mind for TV-chan. I don't know if I'm going to immediately star in that. I can't gauge where people's interest is. But if I followed up TV-chan, I think the next one would definitely include action-based combat. It would definitely lean more into the Zelda inspiration. One of my favorite games actually is Link's Awakening. So I feel like that would inevitably bleed into my project if I made a Gen 2 TV's Awakening. That's an idea I have for a second one. I've always thought if I did a third one, maybe I'll do like Dragon Quest, Monster Raising Light style game. I'd love to tap into the monster collecting and hunting stuff like Pokemon. I would love to do it in a way where TV-chan is still front and center as the character, And I like how the old Dragon Quest did it, where your monster would just join as an additional member of the party, rather than be the entire party themselves. So if I did a dedicated Pokemon clone, that might be different, but I would love to list a little companion thing in a third game, or maybe even in the second one if I end up ambitious enough, but that's a big if. I don't really know what I want to make next. Another project I had in my mind was I did the You Did a Bad Thing Nyka trilogy. They're a trilogy of 2D platformers made in HTML5 with a pocket platformer, which is a great software, by the way, very accessible. I've been thinking it would be cool to recreate that trilogy of platformers, the You Did a Bad Thing Nyka platformers, as a single Game Boy title. Graphics are all relatively the same format and size. It wouldn't take a whole lot of adjusting for that. The platforming engine wasn't super complex, so I feel like building the fundamentals wouldn't be very hard. If I did that, my idea would be basically to combine the 9 levels of the first, second, and third game, just make that an entire set where you can play it all on one cartridge. I think it'd be really cool to get a Super Mario Land-esque platformer out there starring my Nyka character. I definitely want to utilize her in more things. I haven't really used her much since the comics, because I used to be a comic artist, if you didn't know. It's another idea I've had. Thinking about doing You Did a Bad Thing Nyka Game Boy remake for it. Thinking about doing TV-chan 2. Also been thinking about like monster raising and virtual pets. EP I was going to release this week. We'll see if that happens or not. I guess that's it. And it's about 4 of 4. And that means if I'm not found in Nyka TV, well, they're going to be very angry. And last time they got angry, there was a cattle prods involved. So I should probably get back to work. But I just want to thank you all again so much for supporting me, for all the great support, and for playing TV Chan. Thank you so much for it. If you haven't, check it out, and if you haven't checked out my Patreon, check that out. Consider subscribing, become one of my wonderful patrons. I love you all so much. Anyway, I better run home before I get my ass kicked, so bye! I love you, bye!
Hello dear fans and patrons. Welcome to the televised world. Nyka TV needs you. Which of these games should we pursue development on next? Let us know in our upcoming patron poll, or comment below too. Thank you for all of your support.